Alright, so this is going to be a video about the angle addition postulate, which, although it's got a kind of crazy name, postulate is just a word for something which we sort of believe or assume to be true. So it's just saying we believe that we can add angles together. We don't give some proof of it, we just say, well, you can add them together. So at a really basic level, this is what we're talking about. Let's say I have a right angle. So by the way, right angles at up to 90 degrees, this turn, when you put a box, that means it's a right angle. If you had like a straight angle, meaning one that begins going this way and turns around like this, right, so this segment turned all the way around here, that'd be a 180 degree turn, and then a full circle, that's 360 degree turn. Okay, so these are just some basics. Let's look at the 90 degrees. Let's say that I told you inside a 90 degree corner, I actually had two angles, and one of them was 30. Right? And I said, find this other angle. Now this is like one of the most basic versions, right? They may not even mark it with an X, right, under EOI or some such thing. But I know that if this whole thing is 90 degrees, but it is also the sum of 30 and X, I can just write an equation to solve it. You may also be able to see that it's 60, right? But at its most basic level, I'm just going to represent this angle in the corner as two things. One is as the total, as 90 degrees. The other way to represent it is as the sum of these two parts, this 30 degree angle and this X. Right, so again, the way I'm representing this is my total and my parts. So here's one representation, here's another one. Since we know that they're the same based on this diagram, if we solve through for X, we should get the value. Sure enough, so let me rewrite what we have. I would just subtract 30 from both sides. Okay, this is sort of basic equation solving. We want to get X by itself, so we're going to subtract off this other term. These 30s cancel off. We get 60 is equal to X. If we check it, right, is 90 equal to 30 plus X? Yes, it is. 90 is equal to 30 plus 60. You could just check that in your calculator if you wanted to. So let's look at an example which is just slightly more complex, but I hope you'll see it's not too much worse. Let's say that a 180 degree angle was cut into three pieces, not all equal. One of them is equal to 2x, one of them is equal to x plus 10, and one of them is equal to 3x minus 7. Right? And the problem would say, find x, or solve for x. Now we're going to use exactly the same strategy we did before. Even though it looks like there's these more x terms and all these things, all we're going to do is use the same strategy we used here. Write this angle in two ways, as the total and as a sum of parts, all these parts added together. So what's the total here? Well, we know based on this, right, 180 degrees is what a sort of straight line forms when you make angles along it. Okay, so the one way of writing it is as 180 degrees. Now what are the parts? If we add up this part and this part and this part, we should get the whole thing. So that means that 180 is equal to 3x minus 7 plus x plus 10 plus 2x, right? Here's one of your angles, here's another one, and here's the last one. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve through this equation. Since I've already done a video on solving, I'm not going to spend a ton of time showing how to solve this one. Basically, we would just have 180. First thing I would do is add my like terms. So I'll just deal with the x's first. 3x, x, and 2x, right? That would be 6x. 3x plus x, that's 4x. 4x plus 2x, that's 6x. Then we have negative 7 and 10. So that'll be plus 3. Now we want to get x by itself, so we'll subtract 3 from both sides. These cancel. Right, plus 3 minus 3, those cancel. 180 minus 3, and remember, this is subtracting, right? You should say to yourself, I'm going to subtract here, not I'm not going to do a minus 3, right? Because you might think you're going to divide. Here we're subtracting, so 180 minus 3 is 173. Is equal to 6x. And now what's the last step? We've already done all the moving around with addition and subtraction, so here all we need to do is divide by 6. And let's see what we get. I'll write it over here. Use my little calculator here. What's the calculation we're doing? 173 divided by 6. This is one I would never bother to try to do in my head or on paper. Yep, here we go. So x is equal to 28.83 repeating. The other thing you wanted to do, if you just wanted to simplify, if you wanted to see what this was as a fraction, I suspect that both these maybe will share a factor of 3. I'm not sure. Let's see. Oh, they don't. Okay, so actually we're fully simplified then. Right, so this is your answer. What this means is that if you plug this number back in for x here, here, and here, you should get out 180. And I'll leave that to you guys to verify. Of course, there are other examples where these sorts of things come up, but if you can understand an example like this, it's just other ways of setting equal or being complementary or supplementary, and I'll make a video about those later. All right, good luck.